Good afternoon. This webinar offers closed captioning. To enable closed captioning, click on the live transcript button on the bottom of your screen and choose your preferred method. Welcome to the Chicago Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection webinar. Please note any website or email that I mentioned will be posted in the chat. For those seeking business license assistance, you can visit the Small Business Center here at City Hall or call 312-74-GO-BIZ. Also, business license can be applied for or renewed online at chicagobusinessdirect.org. If you are part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program, you can get credit for joining this webinar by sending an email to bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. To learn more about this program, please visit chicago.gov/business education. This webinar is being recorded and will be available at youtube.com/Chicago BACP. I will post all the mentioned information in the chat. We encourage attendees to please ask questions. Use the chat box to send your questions. There will be a Q&A session at the end of this presentation. Please note that the views, information, and opinions expressed during this webinar are solely those of the presenter and do not necessarily represent the official policies or position of the Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection or the City of Chicago. Today's webinar is entitled Concessions 101, Doing Business at the Airport. At this time, I will now turn this webinar over to Glenn for us to begin.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Glenn Reineski. I'm the Assistant Commissioner for Concessions for the Chicago Department of Aviation, O'Hare and Midway Airports. I want to welcome you to the second annual seminar on Concessions 101, how to do business at the airports. We are going to go through a list of items and they will be presented by the Chicago Department of Aviation Concessions staff. One of the things that I want to stress is that there is a lot going on at the airports this year in particular. So we would like you to pay attention to the seminar closely, and in particular, the ACDBE application and what it takes to write a proposal for an RFP. Last week, we were just approved for over 9,500 square feet of additional concession space by the City Council Aviation Committee. We have 2 active RFPs that are out there on our website, and there are more to come this year and next year. So we are alive and well at the airports, and there is room for everyone to participate. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the CDA Concessions team, and the first one up will be Horatio Watson. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn, and good afternoon, everyone. Today, I will be providing a brief overview of airline operations at O'Hare Airport. O'Hare is served by nearly 50 of the world's leading airlines and is a major Intra-Alliance connecting gateway, including United Airlines and their Star Alliance partners, American Airlines with One World, and Delta Airlines with their SkyTeam. O'Hare also has multiple non-aligned airlines, as you can see at the bottom of the screen. Here's a fun fact for you. O'Hare is a dual hub for United and American Airlines. In 2021, there were over 69 million passengers that traveled through O'Hare and Midway airports. Of that, O'Hare had 54 million enplanements. O'Hare International Airport provides direct and nonstop service to 275 cities around the world. Over 50% of O'Hare's passengers have connecting flights and never leave the terminals. What a captive audience. Here are a couple of fun facts for you. O'Hare is the only US airport that has flights to 6 continents. O'Hare is the most connected airport in the US and second in the world. Let's look at some of the terminals, beginning here with the overall view of the O'Hare Airport, beginning with Terminal 1, as you can see, Terminal 2 in the lower left, Terminal 3 in the center, and of course, Terminal 5 to the far right. You hear more about each of those terminals in a moment. beginning with Terminal 1. Terminal 1 has two concourses, Concourse B and C. In 2021, there were 8.3 million enplanements in Terminal 1. Major carriers are, of course, United and Lufthansa Airlines. Terminal 2, there are 5.1 million enplanements. Major carriers, Air Canada, Delta, and United Express. Terminal 3 has 4 concourses. And there were over 11 million enplanements in Terminal 3. And the major carriers are, of course, Alaska Airlines, America, Japan Airlines, JetBlue, and Spirit Airlines, to name a few. Terminal 5 with Concourse M. Terminal 5 has a variety of international and domestic carriers. There are over up to 3.4 million enplanements now. And carriers include Aer Lingus, Alitalia, Emirates, Etihad, Finnair, and Korean Air. Now I'd like to introduce to you Mark, who would like to talk to you about the O'Hare Concessions program.
Thank you, Horatio. Airport concessions at O'Hare and Midway are broken down into 6 categories. These categories include food and beverage category which entails branded and non-branded entities and also includes airport, local, and national brands. The second one is the specialty retail category that entails brands and concepts that supply things such as electronics, apparel, and books. The third one is the news and gift category, which includes entities for souvenirs and convenience items. Then we have the services category, which includes automated retail, ATMs, spa and lounge locations, and foreign currency exchange. Number 5 is the duty-free category, which entails brands that supply things like perfumes, jewelry, and confections. And the last category is advertising category, which entails indoor and outdoor advertising. This next slide is a concessions performance breakdown by category for all terminals at O'Hare. It lists sales figures from years 2019 through 2021, the total number of stores per category, and a total amount of square footage for each category. As you can see, the impact of the pandemic affected sales for 2020, but we did see an increase in travel for the year of 2021, and we continue to see the increase now in 2022, hoping to get back to 2019 soon. This next slide represents terminals 1, 2, and 3, and where each concession is located. If you take a look at the color-coded legend in the top left-hand corner, you can gauge where each concessions by category is located in the terminal. Next couple of slides, you will see some of the different brands or services located here at O'Hare. The first one is Terminal 1, which we have a couple of food and beverage locations. Then we have a specialty retail locations with Johnson and Murphy at the upper left-hand corner. Terminal 2, you also see food and beverage locations. You've got a specialty retail location with Mac, and then you also have a news and gift location with Hudson. Terminal 3 are more food and beverage locations, a service location with the spa, and then you can see some of the indoor advertising in our Terminal 3 food court. This is Terminal 5, which was previously our international terminal, but has since added domestic flights from Southwest, Frontier, Spirit, and in this fall, Delta will start to fly out of T5 as well. So that's why the designation of international is going from the name. You can see the same color-coded legend where you can gauge where each concession is. That's, the legend is in the top right-hand corner. The center portion is the arrival level concessions, and on the bottom and to the left, this is our departure level concessions. This next slide just shows a couple of photos from our checkpoint area, which was renovated and now has a slightly different configuration, which adds more lanes and also our duty-free location. The next slide is our food court area and a couple of the food and beverage locations on this slide and the next. One is pre-security and the rest are after security. Presenting next will be Project Administrator Russell Johnson, who will talk a little bit about O'Hare 21.
Thank you, Mark. Good afternoon. O'Hare 21, or better known as ORD 21, signaled the end of O'Hare Modernization Program, or OMP, which reconfigured our airline airways to reduce delays and increase capacity. We are now a 6th parallel runway airport with 3 runways on both sides of the terminal. ORD 21 is the biggest expansion in O'Hare over 60 years. It will increase the capacity of gates from 195 to 220. We will reduce security wait times. We will improve screening and sorting of passenger baggage, and we will reduce airfield congestion. One of the first phases of O'Hare 21 was our multimodal facility, better known as MMF. It is our enhanced rental car facility. It was completed in November of 2018. It houses our airport rental car operations and 2,600 economy parking spaces. You're looking at the lobby of our beautiful MMF location. It's spacious and has all the passenger rental car needs. It will soon have a convenience concession for travel and rental car public. The RFP for this opportunity is posted at www.flychicago.com and will be available until 4 p.m. on June 6, 2022. To register and find out more information about this RFP and others, you need to go to www.flychicago.com, click on About Chicago, click on Bids and Contracts, then click where it says Register Here to view bids and alerts. This information will be available in more detail later on in this presentation. Let's talk about the phasing of O'Hare 21. We started with the MMF, but then we went to the first of a $10 billion investment, and that was the L Stinger. If you look at the slide in the center at the top, that is the L Stinger and the Terminal 3 Peninsula. The last 2 gates of this Stinger addition are being developed at this time. Next, and what we're currently working on is a $1 billion investment in redevelopment and expansion of Terminal 5. Soon to follow will be Satellite 1, which is a new terminal, and Satellite 2. Then finally, with our global terminal, which will replace the existing Terminal 2 in O'Hare Airport. These investments all include expansion to our airport concession program. To be informed, it is a must that you register for web alerts. The picture you see in front of you is an enhanced view of Satellite 1, Satellite 2, and the star of ORD 21, which is our global terminal. Let's talk about where we are right now, the Terminal 5 expansion. Terminal 5 broke ground in March of 2019. As mentioned earlier, it's a $1.2 billion investment. It adds 350 square thousand feet of terminal space, 10 more gates, additional 750,000 square feet of space on the east part of the concourse will be redeveloped, and there'll be 75% more concession space and 70% more lounge space. Some of these concession spaces, as mentioned earlier, will be approved by City Council this month, with more concessions to be available in later stages. How do you become a part of these opportunities? Register for web alerts. As part of the 750,000 square foot development on the east part of the terminal, Delta Airlines will move from Terminal 2 and make Terminal 5 its new home. You're looking at the conceptual drawing of the 10 new gates that are on the east end of Terminal 5. These new gates will allow for the larger planes to land at O'Hare, thereby increasing passenger flow and revenue for all of our Terminal 5 concessions. You are viewing what the inside of what the Terminal 5 expansion will look like on the East Corridor. We will offer enhanced passenger hold rooms and many trend-setting amenities. The new expansion will be well lit, spacious, comfortable, and has an enhanced passenger experience for all. Next up is Mr. Daniel Perez with updates on Midway International Concessions.
Thank you, Russell. My name is Daniel Perez, Information Coordinator with the CDA, and I will give you a look at our operations at Midway Airport. Midway International Airport is a leading airport for point-to-point air service in the US. In 2019, prior to COVID-19, at Midway, we served approximately 21.8 million passengers. The total number of carriers serving Midway is stable in the post-COVID-19 period, while destinations served have increased, such as with Frontier Airlines. Last month, they added nonstop daily service to Atlanta, Dallas, Denver, Las Vegas, Ontario, California, Phoenix, Tampa, Trenton, New Jersey, Fort Lauderdale, and Orlando. In Q2 2021, Midway had direct flights scheduled to 72 US destinations and 10 international destinations. Southwest Airlines represents more than 90% of the capacity at Midway. As of July 2021, monthly passenger traffic through the TSA checkpoint is approximately 90% compared to the 2018 volume. Midway Airport is home to 8 airlines with 43 active gates. The airlines are Southwest, Delta, Frontier, Porter, Polaris, North Country Public Charters, Allegiant Air, and Avelo. This $333 million program is the first terminal investment in nearly 2 decades at Midway. The Concessions Redevelopment Program will grow permanent employment opportunities from 700 to 1,400. ACDBE participation is 56%, which is the highest in the nation, a truly amazing accomplishment. Passenger security checkpoint expansion has brought over 2.8K construction jobs to date. Our terminal parking garage enhancement has brought over 3.4K construction jobs to date. And with our central heating refrigeration plant upgrades, has brought us over about 300 construction jobs to date. Development plan is ongoing. And now I will touch on the concessions program at Midway. Just to go over the scope of the Midway concessions, redevelopment, and the lease status. Midway Partnership, also known as MP, was selected as a developer operator for Midway's concessions program through a request for proposal, also known as RFP process that has began in the fall of 2015, and it was approved by the Chicago City Council in 2017. MP is investing $75 million in renovating and expanding the concessions program, including food and beverage, news and gift, specialty retail, personal services, and other public amenities. As I mentioned, the program is bolstering over 65% in ACDBE percentage, which is the highest in the nation. The program's footprint will double to over 70,000 square feet and increase the number of stores from 47 to about over 70. Midway introduced concessions mobile food ordering and delivery service back in December of 2020. It allows the passenger to order ahead for pickup or delivery straight to their gate. And the platform is powered by the Grab application. And also constructed 30 new concessions units that feature iconic Chicago establishments and brands, as well as nationally recognized products. This slide breaks down the Midway Concessions performance by category from the last 3 years. The categories are food and beverage, news and gifts, specialty retail, services, total and terminal concessions, and indoor advertising. As you can see, the trend with our numbers, there was a dip in 2020 and internal concessions trended up in 2021. We hope to continue this momentum into 2022, as we expect a pretty busy travel season this summer, especially. Midway Concessions redevelopment. Prior to COVID, the concessions redevelopment constructed 27 new concessions units, 19 food and beverage, 7 retail, 1 service, which was a shoe hospital. And Midway currently has 56 units open. The open units are a mixture of old and newly constructed concessions in order to provide our traveling public with a high level of service throughout the airport. Here we have some examples of what our current build out looks like. Starting from the top left, we have Sarah's Candies. To the right of it, we have Harry Carey's Short Stop. And to the right of that, we have our Hudson Nonstop, which is powered by Amazon's Just Walk Out technology. And then we have Hubbard Inn, Nuts on Clark, and our newest addition, Tallboy Taco, which opened up in March. And with that, I'll pass it on to Michael.
Thank you, Daniel. My name is Michael Stein. I'm the project administrator for CDA, and I'll be explaining to you the process to operate a concession here at the airports. Companies have several ways to operate as a concessionaire. Option 1, you can operate as a single operator. This is where you lease space directly from the airport. Option 2 is called a joint venture. This is where a company forms a partnership with another company to lease and operate a concession. Option 3 is where you operate as a subtenant. This is where your company leases from a larger concessionaire and operates as its subtenant. Next, you would need to determine how you would like to operate. Option 1, you can operate as a franchisee, like with companies like McDonald's and Dunkin' Donuts. Option 2, you can enter into a license agreement with brands similar to Harry Carey or Publican. Option 3 is we operate as a regional or local company, where you bring a neighborhood favorite like Nuts on Clark, Berghoff, or the Billy Goat to the airport. Lastly, there's option 4. You can operate as a unique airport concept that only exists at the airport. Examples of that would be Ice Bar or Cubs Bar and Grill. This next slide identifies the steps to become a concessionaire. First, CDA would identify a location available for lease. Next, CDA would issue a request for proposal, which is also known as an RFP. Then respondents would prepare and properly submit their proposals. CDA would evaluate the responses and select a concessionaire. Then the selected concessionaire and CDA will finalize the lease agreement. CDA would then seek approval from City Council. Once approved, the concessionaire will submit construction plans for review and approval by the CDA construction and design team. Once approved, the concessionaire will complete its construction and then open itself up for business at the airport. The goals of our concession program are to optimize revenues at the airports and within the local economy, to maximize ACDBE participation, to provide opportunities for local brands and local operators, to provide high-quality products and services, promote high-quality facility designs, and to promote environmental sustainability, to increase the variety of offerings at the airport, to showcase the character of Chicago to the traveling public, and to provide first-class customer service and fair pricing to the traveling public and the employees who work at the airports. Things you need to consider when operating at the airport. You need to determine your hours of operation and the proper schedule for your team of employees to adequately have coverage for your concession. You must be prepared to follow all badging and security requirements at the airport. You need to consider how your employees will be getting to work, so you have a stable workforce. Will they be taking public transportation, or will they be paying to park in the employee parking lots? Finally, you need to think through your logistics to have the most efficient way to get your goods delivered and stored, and also to have the most efficient way to have your waste and recyclables removed. Next, we're going to hand it off to Joe Crump from Unison Retail.
Good afternoon. My name is Joe Crump. I'm with Unison Retail Management and Managing Director. We provide Chicago Department of Aviation with concessions management services, primarily at O'Hare and to a lesser extent, at Midway. I'm going to spend a few minutes to talk about both the ACDBE program as well as elements of a proposal. So you've made a decision that you want to bid on one of the concessions opportunities that's been listed in one of the RFPs. And so typically what we're looking for from the respondents, usually there's a cover letter that kind of, greets it, gives a high level overview of what you're proposing. Then we're looking for people to provide, the experience and qualification statements, methods of management and operations. And then what is your concessions development proposal? What is the store concept? What does it look like, via design? How much compensation are you going to provide the city? And then we want you to provide us sales as well as net income and cash flow projections. And then the last part of the concession development proposal would be the capital investment and financing plan. How much is it going to cost you to build it, and how do you plan on financing that? The fifth part of the proposal will be the airport concessions disadvantaged business enterprise participation plan. Typically, we have a requirement in all of our RFPs. Currently, the CDA has a 32% participation requirement. So every proposal has to address and at least and minimum meet that 32% participation requirement. And then we want some of your professional references. You've been doing business at other airports or in other areas, please provide us, references so we can check them. If there are any exceptions to what we're asking for in the proposal, you can list that there. And then there are different affidavits that you have to execute. We're looking for business information statement on all the entities that may be involved in, if you go as a joint venture, all of the joint venture partners, we're looking for information on them, as well as financial statements on the companies that are proposing. One of the things we require when you're submitting a proposal in response to an RFP is a minimum qualification. We want people to have it, or a company to have at minimum 3 years of experience in the proposed business. You may wonder why. It's two reasons. One, we want to ensure there's a level of success at the airport. And the other thing is most small businesses, if they've survived for the first 3 years of operation, there's a likely chance that they're going to continue to operate and thrive. So we want people that have been in business. This isn't a startup situation. The airport isn't as conducive for those types of environments. We're looking for minimum sales from the existing business, and then financial capability. Can you pay for or build the product or the concept that you are proposing to CDA? And then as I said before, we also want your participation plan for your ACDBE. Compensation to the city. So compensation is split between several components. We always start with base rent. At O'Hare, we're running about $50 per square foot with an annual escalation of 3%. So I think the last calculation, most of our average square footage was about 864 square feet. So you can do the math. The license fee, typically we will identify what we're looking for as a proposed percentage of sales. So in the RFP, we may say, and I'll cover some of the percentages in the next slide or two, but it could be 10% of your sales. There may be a proposed minimum annual guarantee, and that's nothing but a situation where the airport is saying, we know that we're going to bring 84 million passengers through here. You're going to have a level of success. There's a certain level of rent that we want to be guaranteed to receive no matter what happens with your sales. And we support all of our concessionaires at the airport, and we try to do that through a lot of marketing initiatives and projects and what have you. And in return, we ask for people to pay us 0.5% of their sales to support those efforts. We're anticipating, given some of the growth and development it's at O'Hare with O'Hare 21, we're looking to centralize our distribution and storage for the concessionaires. So we're considering imposing a 1% to 2% of sales central distribution fee, but that has not yet been determined. Excuse me. So I talked about the percentage rents. You can see on this chart, this includes the type of concessions, what you should anticipate as far as a term on the lease or license agreement. And then the proposed MAG, we kind of set those. So you can see for a full service restaurant and bar, typically we're saying 7 to 10 years. I'm going to say, based on our recent RFP for Terminal 5, that's probably more 10 years. And what's driving that increased term is the cost to construct. Construction costs have gone up, labor costs have gone up. So we recognize the impact on our concessionaires. And so we're providing them more time to ensure that they can amortize the capital investment that they're going to make. And then you can see the proposed percentage rents somewhere between 12 to 15% for a full service restaurant. And then it drops down for, if you look at the candy category, 13 to 16%. Some people may say, Joe, why is there less time for candy, or bar? And it's simply, those are typically smaller footprints. They don't have the type of capital investment requirements such as a full service restaurant. Therefore, based on our analysis, concessionaires should be able to amortize those costs in a shorter period of time. Go to retail, specialty retail, news and gift. You can see, I'm probably gonna say the terms on even some of our news and gifts and specialty retail probably gonna get pushed up a little more like 7 years. But right here we're saying 5 years because historically before COVID, that was a good number of years to amortize those spaces. But they too are experiencing increased capital costs and construction costs. So we're going to have to adjust those accordingly. Next slide, please. So I talked about this MAG, the minimum annual guarantee versus the percentage rent. So it's really a calculation of, the question is, concessionaire, you've got this space, as I said before, we're giving you 84 million people coming through the airport. There's a minimum number of dollars you should be, prepared to pay us no matter what happens. And basically it's the greater of either the MAG or that percentage rent that we talked about. So in this example, excuse me, we have a MAG of $100,000. So that, basically what that says is no matter what your sales are, you concessionaire have to pay CDA $100,000 in rent for that space per year, or 15% of your sales. And so the calculation is real simple. In this case, we're going to say if annual sales are $800,000, 15% of that is $120,000. Concessionaire pays us $120,000. What if sales were only $500,000? You can see the math here. That's $75,000. You're still required to pay us the $100,000. And I'll share this with you. COVID probably exacerbated the second example, because a lot of our concessionaires, we all know what happened with travel. Sales were down 80%. So, this scenario kind of arose, but CDA was able to address, the significant downfall and made sure our concessionaires were accommodated with their rent. Some of the other considerations, things you need to make sure you factor into your proposal. Here we say an average term is 5 to 10 years. That's typically specified in RFP. You will have to pay Cook County leasehold tax, so you want to make sure you estimate that. And then utilities, they're individually metered, so you have to pay for water, electric, gas, if it's it's applicable or required. And security deposits. Here we have 6 months of a MAG. So in this last example, it was $100,000 MAG. That would mean $50,000. One of the things we have been doing is reducing this, just in light of a lot of factors. It's a lot of capital to kind of have tied up. So in our most recent RFPs, we reduced that to more 3 to 4 months. So I think you may see that trend to continue to happen on future RFPs. And then historically, the build out costs real quick. So here we have $1,000 per square foot for retail units. So that's now with inflation and everything else, that's running more like $1,500 per square foot. So you see that, this significant increase in the cost of construction. Don't want to discourage people, but we want to be very realistic. So when you are preparing a proposal, you have all the factors that are in front of you, and you can really make a good hard calculation and determination on what you can propose to operate at the airport. Next slide, please. Some of the considerations, everybody goes to the airport, everybody complains about the prices, but you can see why those prices may be slightly higher, just given the cost of doing business. But we do try to monitor and manage how much people or concessionaires are charging. Typically, they're utilizing downtown Chicago as like a base for comparison purposes, or if there's another type of restaurant or retail operation in the city, we allow them to utilize those to base their prices that they charge at the airport. Sustainability is very important at CDA. We want a customer-friendly environment. We want people to use customer-friendly, environmentally friendly packaging and cups and napkins and things like that. So it's a very big issue here at CDA. So you need to really think hard about this. It's one other issue it's not listed here, and that's ADA accessibility. Any proposal you put together, please take that in mind. Americans with Disabilities Act and accessibility. Make sure you have it. That's going to be a major requirement. It has been, but there's a big focus on that going forward. ACDBE. So most of you probably have heard of WBEs or MBEs or what have you, but the ACDBE is the Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Participation Plan. When an ACDBE is a for-profit business, and at least 51% has to be owned by a socially economically disadvantaged individuals. And they have to manage it, they have to run and control that entity. So we're not looking for people to be passive investors. We want you to be not only invested financially, but also there at the airport, managing that operation on a day-to-day basis. And what I should do is just say, one of the things, there is a FAA requirement that all concessions have a minimum of 10% ACDBE participation. As I said earlier in this presentation, CDA, we've gone beyond that and have established a 32% participation rate. So concessions program, as I said, is kind of governed by the FAA and the federal regulations. I talked about this before. We always establish a goal for each RFP. Michael touched on this before. It's the same for ownership as well. It's slightly different, but you can fulfill that goal through direct ownership. So Joe Crump, I'm an ACDBE. I want to own and operate the concession 100%. I can partner with someone and be a joint venture partner. So I could partner with a larger company or a smaller company. You know, we could split 50-50, 70-30, or at least 68-32 if I'm the ACDB and they're not an ACDB. And then the other way is for you to purchase goods and services from a company that is an ACDB supplier. So if you have a restaurant and you're buying your meats and all of your food products from a company that's a certain ACDB company, you can utilize that financial activity towards your ACDB goal. But it's all listed in the RFP, and you have to disclose how you plan to do that. ACDB is it is a pass or fail situation. If we only have a 32% goal, you come in at 70%, that's a great situation, but you're not at any better advantage than someone that at least minimum meets the 32%. But we're definitely looking for pass or fail. And then these are some of the places where you can go to get information about ACDB certification. And I'm not sure if BACP will make these things available. I think Russell talked about signing up for web alerts, www.flychicago.com. Typically, RFPs are due 90 days after posting. We usually have a pre-proposal meeting. Deadlines are specified. Many times they're extended for various reasons. If you do have questions, you always have to submit them in writing. We usually provide answers to those questions as an addendum to the RFP. So other emails or websites, resources are all listed here. And I strongly encourage you to sign up for the web alerts. That way you can stay in touch or abreast of any developments or any upcoming RFPs that are going to be issued, and other opportunities, concessionaire workshops, symposiums, and other events that can help you understand about future opportunities at the airport. And I thank you for your time. Any questions? I'm not sure. I think I'm seeing some of the questions come through the chat box. I'll try to take some of these and see if that's okay, BACP. So Ms. Johnson, you have a medical staffing program. I think there was a question, Abdul, yes, I think we've talked a couple times, the baggage wrapping for air travelers. Abdul, I would encourage you to make sure you sign up for the web alerts. I think you talked to Yolanda Woodruff before, as well as Castalia Cerner, our deputy commissioner. And I believe they've advised you to sign up for the web alerts. I think there's going to be some RFPs coming down in the near future that may be of interest for you. Let's see, Ms. Diaz, bookkeeping services. I would say maybe, those are services you can provide to concessionaires. Definitely, one of the things I would encourage everyone to do, participate in the, web alerts and then the pre-proposal meetings. What you'll do is you'll meet a lot of people, virtually or what have you. Hopefully, maybe we can have some in person in the near future, but then that gives you a great opportunity to talk about your services and things. There's a great small business symposium next week that, I would encourage people to look at and maybe attend, because it'll also give you an opportunity to talk about your business and opportunities to partner with maybe primes that operate at the airport. Is snack area more of a pop-up? LaShonda, I hope I get this question correct. Pop-ups are just that, pop-ups, right? Those, we're all familiar with them. They have a kind of a short timeline and then they go away. The snacks, these are more permanent situations, right? We want you to do the full terms, build out inline spaces or what have you at the airport, make the investment. I'm thinking of Rocky Mountain chocolate is one, Bose chocolate, that's another snack. Garrett's popcorn, that's a snack concept and what have you. So, hopefully I'm addressing the area. We have considered pop-ups in our future in our program. So, but I think most of our RFPs are looking for more permanent operating situations. So startups, Renee, no, we're not as interested in startups because of the reasons I talked about before. We want you to establish yourself in business. You've probably gone through some of the bumps already. Excuse me, there may be, if we do look at the pop-ups, there may be an opportunity that way to see if you have a product or a service that may make some sense, right? And then you don't have the risk of failing at the airport. And the airport, but we might be able to give you a platform to test that idea or that concept. So I would look forward to that. But startups, as far as our permanent concessionaires, we want a minimum of 3-year experience. How can a vending machines? Oh man, I tell you, Markel Wilson. Hopefully I didn't mispronounce your first name, but you really missed an opportunity. I'm going to say back in June of 2020, we had an RFP for automated vending, and we have been deploying vending machines at O'Hare. Both Horatio and Michael have been really instrumental in leading that program. We have all types of vending machines, popcorn, we have cupcakes, we have Legos, the regular Pepsis, electronic equipment, Apple equipment, what have you. So yeah, I'm sure there's gonna be some opportunities in the future, but I would encourage you to sign up for those web alerts, okay? Ms. Johnson, you put a question in the Q&A. Will some of this apply for e-commerce, small business wanting to do business? Ms. Bray, I would also, say that you should talk to maybe some of the vending companies that were successful, if that's what you're looking for. E-commerce is obviously an issue that's affecting all of the businesses. So, maybe if you have something that one of the retailers might be interested in, if you can, if you could participate in one of our networking events, you can have an opportunity to talk to them and see if there's some future for your product or service. Is there a published list of registered ACDBE partners in the city of Chicago? I think BACP, I'm not sure if you provide that list, but the Illinois UCP does give you a list of all the certified companies in the state of Illinois. And you may be able to find the ones that are listed for us. I would go to the Illinois UCP just to make sure you cover everyone. And it has all the different areas of expertise, business services they provide. They cover it there. Ms. Luce, what if your company wants to advertise within the airport? We do have a concessionaire that currently manages all advertising with both inside the airport and outside the airport. And so you would basically, Clear Channel is that company. Most people refer to Clear Channel. They handle the inside of the airport. So you can always reach out to them for opportunities to advertise. Michelle says food vendor. Okay, LaShonda, hopefully I answered your question. What about a barbecue food? Okay, what about a barbecue food vendor? If you think that, well, okay, what we'll do when we issue the RFP is we may have a burger requirement, right? We may have a Chicago themed concept requirement. So, barbecue food is definitely, people like to eat it. And if you think that's something that can make sense, the one thing I want to encourage all of you to do is really think about your product, right? And think about when you travel, especially as it relates to food, would you want to eat your food in an airport environment, right? Typically, it's not a lot of space, right? We have tables and chairs and all those things, but people are going between, you're there to fly. So you're trying to, get to your gate. So, as you think about it, does that barbecue, is it better as ribs or is it better as a pulled pork sandwich, right? What is it makes it easier and more appealing to that traveler as they make a decision about what they're going to buy? So take all of those factors into account as you start to put together your plan and your proposal. But I would definitely say barbecue is definitely up there. And they're barbecued in a lot of airports. Alrighty, I operate photo booth vending machines. Yeah, the Barry, you missed it, but like I said, register, and I'm sure there'll be some future opportunities as well. Carla Cesario, my company's been approved. Great. Would ATM placement still require 3 like investment? So ATM, are you talking about banking ATM placement? I'm going to assume that's the case. I would say yes, it would require you to be in business at minimum 3 years. If you don't have the experience, one thing that you can do, if you don't have the experience, but you have a joint venture partner, as long as that joint venture partner has 51% of the ownership, you can still qualify, right? And bid on the project. But somebody in the joint venture has to have that. So maybe you've got that other expertise, Carla. You know, you could partner with someone and bid on a concession opportunity. All right, see, Michelle, pulled pork sandwich, you got it. Joe, who should I submit a proposal to for training airport staff? With Ms. Caples, I'm not right now. That's tricky. So I'm not sure that what you're proposing may be more related to professional services, and that would be handled not as a concession opportunity, but as a professional service opportunity for CDA. And those are typically handled by Department of Procurement Services, but I would encourage you to also go to the web alert section, and they do have a box that you can check for professional services. So as those opportunities come up, then you can bid and submit proposals as those opportunities come up. And they also tell you they kind of give you an outline of what's coming up in the future. I hope that helps. You own ATMs, yeah. Same thing, Ms. Cesario. You need to at least have 3 years of experience. Okay. I think, are they pulling me? I'm not sure. Okay, thanks everybody for your participation, and hopefully I've answered your questions.
This now concludes the presentation, how to open a concessions at O'Hare and Midway International Airports. We would like to thank our partners at BACP for hosting this session today. On behalf of Mayor Lightfoot, the Chicago Department of Aviation Commissioner Jamie Ree, and the entire concessions department, we would like to thank you all for joining us this afternoon, and we most certainly hope the presentation was informative.
Thank you to the Department of Aviation for today's presentation. If you would like to receive credit for today's webinar, please send an email to bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. To learn more about our upcoming webinars, please visit chicago.gov/business education. Thank you. Have a great day.